Okay guys, welcome to another Zen pop-up. Now with me today I have Kevin. Hi Kevin, how you doing?
Awesome.
Excellent. So what we want to talk about today is Chat GPT. There is a lot of points. We as a team have been talking about that. We've seen a lot of trend, a lot of activity on this, and we wanted to just clarify some of the uses where it's good to use and some of the things that you need to be aware of. Now, we at Zenler, we don't endorse, we don't work for Chat GPT or anything. We are putting a disclaimer out there that any content you create using Chat GPT, we are not responsible for. So Kevin's going to explain a bit more about that, and then we're going to jump in some examples and just maybe have a little bit of fun with it. And tell you along the way with Kevin's input on where best case scenarios for using this tool is. So I know you've got some feelings about this, Kevin, because we've discussed this in detail about Chat GPT and things to be aware of. So do you want to share your knowledge?
Yeah, I think the thing is, it's very easy to jump on a bandwagon of something that makes our lives look easier. And this has come up, and it's come up really this year widely as a tool that it can write all this amazing stuff and it can give us all this help. And, you know, on the base of it, we ask it a question and it comes up with all this amazing information that we assume we can use as is because it writes it really nicely. We can even ask it to rewrite if we want it to in certain tones and voices and all of this type of stuff. But the thing is, we need to consider, and AI writers are not new, right? That's stage one is you have to understand they're not new. They've been around in the world of marketing and research for many years. Not this particular one, but others, and people have paid for them on an ongoing basis. And there is a way about them that you have to use them properly. They don't replace human beings. You can't just type a question in, bang out an answer, and then go and publish it somewhere as if it was yours, because one, it's not, and two, you need to make sure that what you're putting out there is right. And like any automated thing, it makes mistakes. It's not always right. And Chat GPT is another example. The database isn't a live database. It's not Google. It doesn't give real-time updates as such. It draws from a bank of information from a year or two ago. So if there's stuff that's happened recently and you're trying to do, so for example, you're doing a bit of news jacking, you see something come up on the news and you go, oh, that's within my industry. Quick, Chat GPT, write me an article on this. It's going to pull it up from time ago. So it's going to be maybe not relevant or out of date information. And that will make you look not so good in the eyes of your audience if you're meant to be an expert in that, but you're trying to cut a corner and, you know, get it to do it for you quickly. So you do need to consider that. You also need to consider that when we write content, and, you know, most of you will know by now, you know, I'm a marketer at heart. It's what I've done for many, many years. And content is a big part of that. You have your own way about doing things, and your audience gets used to that. You will, those of you that are watching this live will know the way that I do lives and boot camps and the way David does lives and boot camps. They're our own unique styles. They're different. I'm a little bit sarcastic and I'll have a bit of a laugh and a joke with you. And that's the way that I do things. Other people are much more relaxed. And everybody has their own style, but that also comes out in your writing. So if you're getting a machine in effect to write it all for you and you just go, well, that looks okay, publish, your audience will know something's wrong, but they won't know what's wrong. And it suddenly goes from them building that relationship with you, your brand and your business, to going, something doesn't quite feel right here. And it's that disconnect with what the AI has written, losing your own individuality, and you're putting it out, and then suddenly the audience are disengaged with you, and it's counterproductive to what you try and do, building your list to your audience and the engagement and stuff. So you have to use these tools. We're describing it as a tool because that's exactly what it is, with complete caution. And I'll give you an example of maybe how this would really bed into your way of thinking. So, for example, lots of people go onto Google and they try and self-diagnose medical problems. Dr. Google is a well-known thing, right? You go on, you're feeling a bit rough one day, something, I don't know, a lump's come up on your finger or whatever, and you go into Google, oh, I've got this. And by the end of your 15-minute search, you've come up with 25 life-threatening diseases that it probably could be, and you're sitting there winding yourself up over it. You decide, actually, this is really not very good after you've spent a few £100 on lotions, potions and stuff off of Amazon, because that's what someone on Google's told you to do. You go, this isn't working. You walk into the doctor who's the professional, knows their stuff, they've trained for it, they understand it. They look at it and go, oh yeah, it's this. Here's your prescription, cleared up in 2 days. And for me, that's what this is about. It's almost the equivalent of Dr. Google, that you can put stuff in, it will kick stuff out, but it doesn't mean that it's right. And you've got to adapt, understand, and implement it in your own way. Not just put something in, let it churn it out, and then copy and paste and go, oh, I'm signing my name at the end of it, with no real understanding of it. Don't be the Dr. Google of AI writers, right? Be the doctor, yeah, that people go and see. That's how I would describe it best.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And also the other side of it is quite dangerous, isn't it? Because like you guys, you know, you're teaching, you're experts at what you're teaching. And what you're actually doing here that you would never do in real life, you'd never get someone, you've worked hard to start building your business up, you've got your own unique style. You would never hire someone to come in and take over, would you? But that's what you're doing with the AI. If you're using it to a massive extent, you're saying to the AI, okay, you're in charge. I'm just going to use what you're using and I'll just back people up. So that's what you're saying. You're saying the AI is in charge of you, and it actually shouldn't be that way. It should be the other way around. As Kevin mentioned, tool is a tool for you to use, and use it in the right way. It can be really helpful, but use it in the wrong way, it could be very, very damaging. Now, I know Kevin's also got a view on, we don't know about the content and what's going to happen as far as search engines are concerned. Do you want to expand on that, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Using and I'll go back to my doctor example. So a doctor, to diagnose, he may take a blood test, but he has to understand the results of the blood test to be able to implement it into a diagnosis. Yeah. So you're right. It is, you wouldn't just walk down the street and go, oh mate, I've got this lump on my finger. What is it? Because you don't know who they are. They probably don't know anything. So you're right. You have to, it's your reputation, and you've got to take that really seriously. As far as implications going forward with the content and SEO and Google and all of that, we just don't know is the answer. There are disclaimers out. I think Chat GPT actually has a disclaimer on it not to use AI content as is. I think it says that somewhere that I recall. And that's because they're worried about what it may do in the future. So they're warning you already to say, you know, don't do that. And for me, what will look at it from this point of view, okay, I go and write an article with the AI writer and I don't edit any of it, right? I just go in and go, write me a blog post about, you know, how to do a Zen pop-up, right? And it comes up and it will come up with information. David goes in, he says exactly the same thing. Write me a blog post on how to do a Zen pop-up. Somebody else comes in, Alice, write me, and we all publish that on our respective sites. What's going to happen? It's gonna, the search engines will see it and find it and say, hang on, they're exactly the same articles.
Yeah,
absolutely. Who are we
absolutely.
going to believe? Who is the authority on this?
And it's going to look, I mean, search engines are really clever. You know, they look for plagiarism, they look for it. So why do you think that search engines are going to be, you know, search engines, AI is going to be any different if it's populating stuff out for multiple people on the same topic, or even from the same post, which is even more dangerous? I can imagine that people like Google, they're going to be looking at this and going, we need to filter out who's using AI and who's not. Because I would be, if I was running that, I would be like, I want original, authentic copy from people. And I would be looking, I might not ban it completely, but I would certainly, if I thought that it was over a certain marker, of being written by an AI, I would blacklist it, or I'd drop it right down the search engines. That's me. If I was running it, that's what I would be looking at now, because I'd be like, this is really dangerous, you know.
Well, it falls under the duplicate content rules. So if you wrote that post, it came up exactly the same as what I wrote. We both published it on, let's say, our websites on our blog, right? It wouldn't necessarily penalise you. All it would do is say, well, this guy's written more stuff about this topic on his site. It's a stronger domain. It's been going for longer. It's more of an authority site. I'll show that one. I'm not going to penalise you, but I'm just not going to show you. Yeah,
which is the same.
Yeah, it's actively just ignoring you. You don't actually pick a penalty up, but it's just ignoring you. Yeah, so it's saying that this one is more of an authority, so we'll give it to that one. Which is why if you write a blog post and people go, well, I'll just go and publish that on LinkedIn and I'll publish it on Facebook exactly the same. Well, guess what? It's not going to show your own site because it's nowhere near as much of an authority as LinkedIn is. It's going to show the LinkedIn one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why you have to change it. Yeah, it's why you have to change the content, even if some of the core of it is the same. So it doesn't pick that up and go, actually, who are we going to choose? Because you'll always lose to a more authoritative site, even if that's LinkedIn with billions of users or whatever. That's going to win over your own site, and it don't matter who you are. So, and this falls, for me, it falls within the same sort of reasoning that if we're going to be using an AI, we have to, and they're warning us, don't just use as is, adapt it, change it, put your voice in it, you know, use it strategically. It might help you with a framework, for example, if you're stuck with ideas and things like that, give you some ideas around what you can do. But don't just copy paste and say, here, signing my name, I'm done, it's me, because not so much you'll pick a penalty up in the future, but it may just get your content ignored, and it will be have no personality in it either, which again, from a human point of view, people will just go, why am I following you? You know, it's just no good. So yeah, but that's not a guarantee that's going to happen, but that to me is logical as to knowing what we know where we are right now, how they operate, as to what will probably happen.
Yeah, I mean, it seems an obvious progression as well. You know, like, guys, we're live discussing this in front of you, so our comments are coming out. We haven't pre-planned any of this stuff. We're just talking about it as we sort of see fit. But it's kind of like, if you look at what's going on at the moment, that Google search engines and things do penalize people if something's similar or based on another person's post, even videos, you know, anything like that. Then you know, it's an obvious thing that the same thing's going to happen with AI generated content. It's going to be there. And of course, like every other system, the AI is going to be, they're going to keep tweaking things to try and get it past so it gets higher rankings and things like that, because obviously they're going to do that because they want to market it and sell it to you guys, and they don't want any of these things coming in. So we have looked at some of the key things that we are a little bit worried about when we see people really promoting Chat GPT. So we wanted to make sure that was one of the most important things that we discussed in this Zen pop-up with you. I don't know if you guys are using it. If you are, put it down there, say the usage of it. I've spoken to a few people that are actually using it in the right way. And this tool, it is a tool. It can help you with quite a lot of different things. If you're not a sort of ideas person, if you're not a creative, it can really start the ball rolling for you. I always like to try and come up with things of my own, and then you could use those terms and get some different ideas from Chat GPT. I will mention one other thing that's really important here is the optimization of any posts and stuff that you're getting done through AI, especially when it comes to like the keywords, the researching and all that sort of stuff. If you don't do that yourself, like everything else, you're not going to get a good ranking anyway. So that is a key thing. Again, we're not sure what sort of ratings. I'll probably run some tests and try some things out to see how things compare, and maybe we can share that data with you another time. I know there's a few other members of the team that do use it, so they'll probably have their input as well. Kevin's wife Sarah, she uses it to just get the ideas. She uses it in the right way. She never gets it to write copy for her or actually give her final thing. It's just to get that kind of momentum going. So that's what we wanted to talk about today, is how you could use Chat GPT to help you with that side of things, and also how it writes things, and basically just a basic show on how to use it. So Kevin, jump in whenever you like with this, because I'm going to screen share and I will drop the link into the chat so you guys can see and have a play around with it. It is free. There is a paid version, but you can use it completely free. So you can have a play around with it, but please take note of the serious issues that have been raised in this then pop-up, because I cannot understate those. So Kevin, jump in when you want to.
I might give you a couple of examples to throw in there.
Yeah, I've got some things. If you want to say what's right in there, I can do it. So let's get in this. Right.
Yeah, I think this will be quite interesting, because although we've gone through the things you've got to be careful about, you know, it is a tool and it's useful. So, you know, we can look at now, actually, how can we use this productively? What can we use it for, genuinely, that's going to help us as a business? I think, you know, this is a great tool. There is a lot of talk about it. And when you can actually get into it, because you can't always, because it gets quite busy, you know, there's some real big benefits to it as well. So hopefully this demo will just give you some ideas as to, you know, how you can use it, because it will also, I think, and one of the things that doesn't really get talked about is it will help you in the creative process. So a lot of people are not creative, or they don't believe themselves to be creative in their business. You know, they do what they do, they know what they know, but they struggle. If I said to someone, come up with 10 blog post titles, for example, they'd sit there and they might go, oh, I can think of two, but I don't really know what else to do. And when I go through it with them, me and them, it's like, blah, 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 and, oh yeah, that's a really good idea. So I think this can be used to help almost unravel your own creativity and help you in that way. So I think, yeah, the examples are going to be really good.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's like the blank canvas thing. It's like, you know, I paint. So when, the scariest thing, not now because I've done it for so long, but the scariest thing for new people is having a look at a blank canvas and not being, you know, not knowing where to start, not to do that first brush stroke. So it's exactly the same as that. You know, sometimes these tools can help you just jumpstart you so that you can get your creativity flowing, as Kevin sort of mentioned there. All right, let's jump into this. So we got openai.com. This is the URL that you can go to, and you can sign up through here as well. And we're going to jump straight into the new chat. Now, as I've got this completely free in here, you're going to notice at the top, you've got two new chat, and you've got clear conversation, so you can clear it. Now, one thing to bear in mind with any sort of AI is this particular system is it actually learns from what you've previously written. So if you're writing an article, say on how traveling around Mexico, which is the example I'm going to show you, and you then decide that you want to do a completely different article, make sure you start a new chat. That's just for your benefit, because otherwise it would take reference from other things that you've put above that. So it's a learning system. It's an AI learning system. So it will base lots of its remarks on previous chats, which you might not want. This is quite a big thing as well. Now, the other thing I want to look at is when we come into here, this is the bit that people don't tend to look at. It's like the small print. Now, for people like me and Kevin, we tend to look at the small print first, you know, because that's where you're going to have all your limitations and everything else. So it guides you whether you want to use a particular software package or not, because I love small print. You know, they make it small for a reason. There's obviously something in there. So I always look at the limitations here, and they've made it quite clear. They're quite open with it at the moment. It is in a kind of almost a beta stage. So they've released it and they're learning and they're doing more things on it, but they've put limitations in here. So I want to bring these up. And it's a lot of what we've already talked about. So may occasionally generate incorrect information. Oh, that's quite a big one, because if you are totally relying on Chat GPT, take that information and put it in somewhere for a course, or even into an article that you put on, you know, Wikipedia or something, that, or even your LinkedIn, then that's a massive thing, because it may occasionally create incorrect information. You know, that's so dangerous. Then I've got may occasionally produce harmful instructions or biased content. That again is another massive flag for you, because you want that biased content. You know, is Chat AI, this is a discussion actually for Kevin, is Chat AI going to be governed by sort of like far left or far right government policies? Who knows? You know, maybe big corporations come in and say, use this word. We don't know, because, and it said it there, it's covered itself. Biased content may contain harmful instructions. You know, these are big things, aren't they, Kevin?
I mean, it doesn't know we don't know where it draws its information from or what it prioritizes. So, for example, if you've got a political party that, let's say, is less acceptable than others in the mainstream world, and they've managed to create a bank of content that's really quite compelling and findable, and you know, it's a really, from a search point of view, is actually quite up there above some of the others. It may, what it's saying is it may draw information from that, and that could be the bias that it's putting out. Now, in normal terms, any normal human being would look on that and go, I'm not even going to read that content. But what this is saying is, well, it might actually use that as a basis for what an opinion that it's putting over to you. So I love the way that they've put the may occasionally, because we don't know. May is a very undecisive word, and occasionally could be once, 10 times, 1,000 times, a million. I mean, what's occasionally? It doesn't really mean anything. So they've really covered their arses here from that point of view, which is, again, goes back to what we said, that you've really got to know what it is you're looking for to understand that there isn't that type of bias or, you know, incorrect information. I mean, that's critical. So if you're going in there, like with my Dr. Google example, yeah, it could tell you completely the wrong things. And it's saying actually that can happen. And they wouldn't say that unless they knew that was a possibility. It's not saying it's going to do it all the time, you know, and you can check it, but it is saying it will happen sometimes. So ultimately, what it's saying is it might give you a biased opinion and it might give you the wrong information. So you've got to really know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So yeah, again, backing up what you said earlier. So it's all going that way, and you've got to be a little bit careful. And then the last one, and this is a great one: limited knowledge of the world and events after 2021. So as we were saying, not the latest trends. So if you're asking for it to give you the latest trends on something, you might get stuff from it's not the latest trend, but it's back in 2021. You wouldn't want that, would you? You'd want the latest trends. So you're going to have to not use this and go and check that sites where you can find the latest trends on these things. So that is actually quite a big one and backs up what Kevin was saying earlier. So I think all those points you covered anyway in that stuff.
The latest trends one is really interesting because we did some research on digital marketing trends, because obviously we're often thinking forward, as in there are events that happen. I think the social media world event took place, I think it was last week, the big expo that they do every year, talking about what's coming up in the next 12 to 18 months.
Yeah.
All that stuff means we're almost 3 years out of date with what the AI can produce for us. We researched it, and it's actually a little bit more than that. So if you're a digital marketer thinking, oh, I want to talk about what's good on Instagram at the moment, for example, what should we be doing? If you go in and ask this to write you an article on it, it's going to tell you from 2-3 years ago, which of course we know is different to what it is now and in the future. So It's not just medical or facty stuff, but it's also, you know, opinion based, and, you know, of predictions of what's going to come up, because the predictions they'll give you will be still out of date.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's trends, you know, it's trends change literally lots on a daily basis. You know, stuff goes viral for a day and then drops off. You got to be on this stuff all the time. And 2021 is far too far back if you're trying to get it to do a trending social media campaign for you.
Yeah, so if you go in and say,
without
Chat
doubt.
GPT, tell me how I can beat the Google algorithm, it will tell you from 3 years ago. And then even then it might be wrong because it probably doesn't know.
It
So
doesn't.
don't waste your time with that.
Yeah. You'll probably come out of it more confused. You know, we are.
100%.
So then on the left, it's quite good. It's given us some examples on how to use the system. So there's a few different ways to do it. The AI is pretty good, and you can just put stuff straight in there. But there are a few sort of leading questions that are, or certain things that you should do when you're putting stuff in. So if I was asking it, for instance, I'm going to base what I'm going to show you now is I'm going to base it around the blogs, our blog post we got. If you haven't seen it, blog.newzenler.com, plugging the old blogging site, because it's doing really well. There's some really good articles on here. I don't just say that because I've got some on there. I say that because the whole team have contributed. But I'm going to use an article that I wrote here on Mexico on 𝗵𝗲𝗣𝗨𝗣. I just want to show you something with this system because it will actually grab your content. Now, there's two ways that we could put this in here. One is we can go and just copy and paste this content straight into Chat GPT and it will do it. But the other thing is we can actually take the URL and we can put that into the chat. So if I go something like, if we look at these examples, they've got little speech marks around them. So I always tend to do this. It works quite well. And I'm going to tell this to write a 500 word, let's say article. Well, let's just say post on this. And then I'm going to put in the URL and I'm just going to close that with a speech mark. Okay, so let's just see what happens now when we hit this. So here we go. So it's going to do 500 words and it's going to write it based on what it's looked at within the article, which is pretty powerful. However, you know, if you were doing this from my content, I wouldn't be happy because it's using a lot, well, it's using my experience and it's also using words from there. So it's also spell checking. It's also checking the grammar as well as it goes through it. So it's really powerful and people can get really super excited about this. And that's the kind of danger because it's writing this article out now and it will get to, hopefully it'll get to 500 words and won't just carry on. By the way, guys, you can stop it generating by clicking here. I think that's done more than 500 words. That's quite a lot.
500.
That's it, stopped. So let's have a look just to see if it has done this. Now I did a check the other day and I said like do 500 words and it actually did 503. So let me just go into the old word count and check this out. So I'm going to select all here, delete it out, put this in here. So 556 words, pretty close. So it's generated that content from a URL. Now, what you can also do, and this is really good. So what a use for this would be to do some spell checking. And I'm going to do that in a minute. But before I do that, I'm going to move on and show you how you could kind of use this. I could copy all of the content in there because remember at the moment, it's just done a 500 word post and it's based it on this blog post here. So, but if I want to use it for social media, say, I could do that. So I could go, give me 5 headings for this post.
I'll just point out before you hit send on that.
Okay.
If you scroll back up, there's 2 really clear mistakes.
That's good. Great.
And
Point
I've
them out.
spotted them straight away. So the first one that I noticed was our adventure began, second paragraph, 10 days ago in Mexico, where we were greeted by the friendly and welcoming staff of Zenler. Untrue.
Yeah.
That didn't happen.
Yeah, that didn't happen. So that's fake. So that's
Right.
great. That's shown it up.
There's also another part. If you scroll down, keep scrolling down. So the second one up from the page where we are, as we pack our bags and prepare heads back to the real world, we can't help but feel grateful for the amazing adventure we had with Zenler.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again,
So
untrue.
this is great because Zenler is mentioned quite a few times within the blog post, and obviously in the title as well. So it's looking at that and it's saying, right, Zenler's organized this. This is part of Zenler. It actually wasn't. It was my own personal holiday. I was doing work for Zenler, but that wasn't the key. So I think this relates back to you saying before, if you're going to generate this sort of copy, don't do it from other people's posts. But if you want to generate a shorter version, maybe to use for LinkedIn or something, you need to go in there and you need to edit it. Yeah, you need to edit that. It might have all the nice short paragraphs that are quite nice for SEO. It might have all the commas and things, but please edit it because it's not correct.
But
you pointed out 2 points.
You know, if you didn't know that David wasn't out there on an official Zenler thing and there was no office out there and no staff out there, we know that because we know the situation. But if you was just created that, it's actually they're plausible sentences. They make sense. Yeah, if you read them, they do make complete sense. As in a constructed sentence, it's just not true.
Yeah, I mean, this is great line here. This is we've had with Zenler, and it says the company's commitment, responsible and sustainable tourism. Well, Zenler's not a tourism company, and it's almost making it out like it sounds it owns Mexico, which at the moment Zenler doesn't. You know,
and this is why you have to be so careful that you don't just go do this, copy paste, post, because there are fundamental massive mistakes in this. I haven't even really read it fully. Those ones just sprung out on the page to me. You know, we know 100% they are wrong. There's no question, no debating over it. They're 100% wrong. And we think,
and I haven't read this, you know, I haven't written it and actually doing it. I could go through this and probably go, well, that's wrong, because I actually traveled it, so I'm going to know. Imagine writing this or asking it for an article that you have knowledge about, but you don't have complete knowledge about. Then you might, that must be correct. So this research,
you was touring Mexico, right? And you thought, I'm going to write a travel blog on Mexico. Come across your article, threw that in, and then someone from Zenler came along and read it and went, hang on a minute, you're talking about our company. We don't do any of that stuff. You're actually tarnishing our reputation. That could get you in some bother. Because if that was my business they were talking about, I'd be like, hang on a minute, you're talking about stuff we don't do. We don't have an office out there. We're not a tourist company. You don't work for us. Our staff were never there. What are you talking about? Now, put that into the context of something a bit more shady as an association with a company, right, that could really damage their reputation. I think you're bordering on the lines of legal action on this. If you was to publish it like that.
Yeah. But
so
we're not scaring you. We're not trying to scare you here, guys. We're just saying how these things. So he's clarifying the point that Kevin made right at the beginning. You need to read all the copy. You need to make sure it's all correct, and you need to voice it in your own authenticity.
David's not scaring you. I'm scaring you because I genuinely want you to be fully aware of when we write content and we put it out on the internet, everybody gets to see it, right? So if you're rewriting or getting something to write on your behalf, you're liable for what that writes, whether you've read it or not read it. It's irrelevant. You put that out, you're responsible for it. And if by some chance an AI writer picks up a person's name, a celebrity's name, or something that is incorrect, then they'll come at you and go, you can't talk about my company like that. That's not you. Why are you doing that? Because you've put your name to it. Ignorance is not a defense. We know that. So you have to make sure if you're going to use a tool like this, you do really take it seriously, is my point. And you check and double check everything that you do. Because if you were to write that as a human being, you wouldn't write it that way.
Yeah, so in essence, it would probably take you the same amount of time as if you wrote it yourself anyway. Yeah. And then you would have the proper content, and then you could put it in there. So if I was doing this the right way, I would take my content that I've written and I would have put that in there, as the first statement, and I would have said, you know, grammar and spell check, and then it would have gone through it, and it would have left the content alone. It would have just corrected any spelling mistakes, and it would have grammatically corrected it as well. So once I had that in there, and I've checked it, because you always check, even though you're only asking it to spell and grammar check. After I've checked it and made sure it's correct, then I might move on to the next part of it, which might be, right, okay, well, I want to get this out there to my social media groups. So let's ask it a question. So, by the way, before I do that, you can also regenerate the response. So regenerating the response, what it will do is it will look at the original blog post, but it would also look at what it's already written. Now, I found that this is quite good because it can correct some of the things, but sometimes it trips itself up and makes even less sense. So be really careful about regenerating, but you can do that. You can generate a few of them if you want to, but following our best practices, read through it all, anything wrong, try and change it a little bit to give it in your own style, and then you'll be fine. And that's how we are saying for you to use the system.
So you could, in essence, put in underneath that, rewrite the above post and remove all reference to Zenler.
Let's try it. Let's try it. Not tried this before, so this will be interesting. So rewrite above content, remove the word Zenler. And then I'm following with a comma there instead of the 2 speech marks, because it's just responding to what's above. So let's see what happens when we do this.
I'm not going to like it now. It's going to go, what?
No, I think it'll be all right.
Think about it.
Yeah, it's like, well, that's the main part of it. That's where it's been using it. So here we go. So it's off again. And this time it's obviously responded and it knows what needs to be done. So it is going through it and it's going to remove it. I wonder what word it's going to use instead. Now it will be a different, slightly a different copy.
Notice how much slower it is this time.
Yeah, it's having to think, because remember, like, Zenler is a key word inside of our posts for obvious reasons, because Kevin's optimized it for that. So, and it's written in the copy as well. So it is an important part of it. It's like almost saying remove part of the title. So it's going to take a little bit longer to respond. And I've noticed that, you know, because everyone's looking at this at the moment, this is why it's important to do this then pop-up, is it's been slower because it's more people are using it. You can have the paid version. I think it's £20 a month or something, and you get sort of extra power, I think.
Can you see
to
on
do
that
this
second paragraph where it's changed it? We were welcomed by a friendly and hospitable team. And that's before where it had the Zenler bit.
Yeah. So it's interesting, isn't it? How it's swapping the terms out. Yeah, so you get the idea. It's basically removing it. So it's working, but it's swapping it for another term. So yeah, these are things. This is why it's quite good, because you can get things to rewrite. But remember that this post is based on a blog post that I wrote. So it's still my copy. And if you're plagiarizing from other sites, it can be dangerous, even if that word's removed. This blog post in particular is so unique. I think this would be one that would be flagged by Google, because it would be so close to my one. All right, it's taking a bit of a long touch. Shall I stop it?
Yeah, might as well stop it. We get the point.
Yeah, we get right.
You know,
okay.
It's having to earn its money today. Because it's really thinking about it and it's working it out, which is good, because there's a level of sort of consideration behind it. But it has, we can see in the second paragraph, it has changed it. So it does remove any reference to Zenler in it. So it's done what we've asked it to do.
Yeah, and I think it's like, I think if I put in there another statement, regenerate the copy, and instead of using the word Mexico, use Africa or African, then it would insert that word instead. So that would also be something, so that you could really go off tangent with this stuff. But what The good thing is that once you put it in there and you've got it and you've just used it the way we're telling you to, which is like to maybe to grammatically correct and spell check, you can generate a lot of really good things to get you moving. So if you want to run sort of a social media campaign, let's say, you could put something like this in here. Give me 5 headings for a post. So, or a social post. Let's just do this first. So it should be quite quick. It's only 5. So here we go. So discover the hidden gems of 𝗭𝗪𝗣𝗪, lagoon of 7 colors, which it is perfect. 10 days exploring Mexico City. Well, it's not 10 days, but you know, I was there for a bit longer than that. But a culinary journey savoring the flavors of authentic Mexico cuisine. Must have referenced the food and those sort of elements, but they're pretty good as headings. So you could also say something like inside here, let's do something. Give me 5 SEO friendly Twitter excerpts. Let's try that. Let's see what happens. And I'm also going to say, also, I'm testing it, add www.zenler.com. Okay, let's see what happens. Sometimes it's a good idea to generate twice. So do the SEO friendly and then generate the www.zenler.com at the back. But I like to push these systems until they break. I do the same thing with Zenler. So here we go. So it's going to experience the beauty of 𝗭𝗪𝗪𝗪, the lagoon of 7 colors on our Mexico tour with Zenler. Book your adventure now. See, that's wrong. Book your adventure. Zenler is now a tour guide, and it's put some hashtags as well. Look at that. So pretty cool. You'd have to edit it, but it would start you on that track. Obviously from here, you would need to take those excerpts, or if you were using the headings from the top, you would need to go and do your keyword research or your density research on any of the posts, and you would need to check the amount of people that are typing some of these headings or these tags or keywords into to do that sort of research for SEO, and that remains unchanged. There's no way that Chat AI, the AI is going to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's really misunderstood, and it thinks that Zenler is a tour company.
Yeah, but you can see how it could generate these kind of things for you. You need to change them. It can give you a start. So Kevin, what do you want me to put in there? Before I do that, let me just show you the grammar thing, because I think this is quite important. So let me just take a little bit of this, a little snippet, and let me get this to stop generating, and let me just put into here. So I'm doing a new thing. Now remember, it does take the copy that's above it into account as well. So I would generally set a new conversation up. So spell check and grammar this, and then I'm going to put this in here and just close it off. So let me just make a few really big mistakes here. Let me just put some Z's in here. Let me take away any commas and even put that in there. Maybe do it as 1 sentence. So it's really long. I'm going to leave that as off the end. And let me take that brown. Let me make that a capital C. And let me put I in there. So I'm testing this kind of grammar and spell check. So I've closed it off. So I've put my statement in here. I've got a colon, then I've put the words in there. I've made a few errors inside here, and I'm spell and grammar checking. So let's just check this out. So here is the corrected text. So pretty good. You know, you still need to check all this stuff. You'll still need to put any breaks in that you've got in there, but it has put all the full stops in there. It has put commas back in, and it has corrected any of the words that are in here. Hotel, yeah. So it's corrected any of that side of things as well. So as a spell checker for checking this thing, Grammarly, be aware, this has done a really good job on this.
It's actually showing some of the words as well.
Yeah, just because it thinks that's better. So that's something, again, going back to the first thing, any content that's created by any AI, not just Chat GPT, but any AI, you should be reading that content and just making sure that it hasn't changed the words that you want or the phrases that you've used for its own, which it can do. But yeah, looks pretty good. So that's a use that you could use it. You could use it for social media to show some ideas on things. You could, to get you started on headings. You could use it for social media excerpts, put in there. You can tell it how many words you want to summarize something up. And that could be a good use of it. That's how we kind of think it should be used, just to start you off, just to get you on that track, because you can ask it to write whole articles. Look, I'll give you an example. So write an article on SEO in, let's put, I'm not going to go mad here, 100 words. And let's just see what this says. And, you know, this is the danger. This is the danger with this. It gives you really, it looks all nice, but if you don't know what you're looking at here and you posted that, it could be wrong with latest trends and these sort of things, which Kevin was mentioning. But it does a really good job to start you off. And I think that's how I look at it, is something to sort of start you off, look through. If you think one of the sentences is good, then maybe leave that one in. But, you know, look at that copy going through. So not bad. Long-term benefits and help business stay competitive in today's digital landscape. Probably change that. It's also very dry. Well, let me just try something else. Right above in a funny way. Now, I've had some fun with this. And it can sometimes put some really weird things in there. I did one on Liz and 𝗵𝗲𝗯, and it was going, Liz is the yin to 𝗵𝗲𝗯𝗍 yang. They are like a boomerang, which I thought was quite funny. So it's trying to impress and crush. So I don't know what that's going on about. Impress your crush on dating app. That makes no sense at all. You want to make your profit stand out, so you choose the right words and some fancy photos, and maybe a witty joke or two. So see what I mean though? It can be quite funny, but it gives you like some really weird responses sometimes because it doesn't know humor.
So should we try an example that could be relevant to our audience?
Okay, go ahead.
As a course creator. So if we start a new chat, let's start a brand new one so we don't have any history.
Okay.
So I'm a course creator. I'm going to use my normal example that I use in my Launch Your First Course bootcamp, which is about a course on bathing a psychotic cat. Right. So I've come up with this idea for a course. Don't really know where to start with it. Let's see how this does in creating me a course that I can follow. So
a sales page or a course?
No, we're going to do it as a course.
Right. So you want to.
So what I want to do is I want this to write me an outline for a course that will teach people how to bathe a psychotic cat. On how to bathe a psychotic cat.
That's not right, is it?
So
okay.
So on how to, so put how in front of the two. This, and then just at the end of it, put I would like 5 modules in this course.
Cool. This is going to be a challenge.
Right, so I'm asking it for an outline. That's my topic. I want in essence, 5 sections there that it's going to come up with that's going to tell me how to do this. Let's see what it comes up with. It's going to come up with a big red X on it and say, no, we're not doing this.
There we go.
Understand? Yeah. Preparing for the bath? Yeah. Getting the cat into the, yeah. The bathing process? Yeah. After the bath? You know what? That isn't actually too terrible based on what I know, right? Because I've done this course a number of times and I do it in a 9-step process. Actually, that's not too bad as an initial framework to start working from.
Well, it's probably taking your course on it.
It probably has.
It's probably grabbing it.
So if we were really struggling and we had a topic that we wanted to work on and we were thinking, how are we going to outline this? This is not a bad starting point, to be fair. I wouldn't use it as it is, but that's come up okay. So the next thing I want to do is I want to go and ask it, expand on the content and give me expand the content in module 1 above.
Yep.
Specifically for older cats. Right, let's see what it says on that. So we might just scroll up a bit, David, while it's doing that. Let me see what's in module 1. I can't remember. So understanding the psychology, identifying symptoms of a psychotic cat and common reasons for a cat's anxiety. They're actually quite good ones for a module 1.
Yeah, it looks good. Preparing for the unexpected. I like the last bit. Can be difficult and dangerous task. So here we go.
Right, as cats get older, blah blah blah. Understanding older cat behaviour. May have physical limitations that can make bathing more difficult. Yeah, fair call. As cats age, they may experience a decline in cognitive function. Probably true. Leading to confusion, fear, and aggression.
Oh, so this is, yeah, it's put 1.1, 1.2 to the point above.
Yeah.
To be dropped in, which is
so
really
if
quite
I had
good.
a module and I wanted to put lessons within that module,
Yeah,
this is now giving me a framework for that.
Yeah, a framework. We're not saying use exactly what it says here.
No, not at all.
Because again, you are the expert.
But if I was a cat specialist in doing that course and I was thinking, how am I logically going to get my knowledge from my head into a course? This is actually not a bad way of doing it. This helps me get my thinking straight. So
Yeah.
we've gone from 3 or 4 lines in a module 1. So it's now given us 3 elements. It's broken it down specifically for older cats. And on the face of that, that gives me something really good to start working with.
Yeah, and I think once you've got that content, you've put that framework, you could again copy that in there. So let's pretend that's happened and Kevin's worked on it and he's changed it because that's going to work. And he's pasted it in, says, pretend that this is the new copy that Kevin's put in here. So from this, you could take this a stage further and say, generate me headings for social media. So you could use that as a base. So this is doing all this stuff for you, but you're editing it as you're going along. So it's speeding your workflow up. It's also getting you started. It's getting you running. So it could save you a lot of time if you use it in that way. But do you want to expand on this, Kevin?
Well, the next thing that I would go to would be, so we could go through that and we could do that for each module and just expand it out and it'd take a little bit of time. We're not going to do that. So the next page thing that most of our people struggle with is creating, like you said earlier, the sales page.
Yeah.
So I would say using the above outlines, create me a 500-word sales page for my course, How to Bathe a Psychotic Cat.
Sales page. Oh, I keep getting that wrong. What do I keep missing out? Oh, yes, sorry. Okay, let's try that. So here we go. So it's going to generate from that copy that obviously Kevin would have totally changed and just used it as an outline. And it's now going to start putting
into the problem. Are you facing this issue? Which is not bad for a sales page. That's what we want.
Are you struggling? We can also generate a headline from this copy. So we're going to build this copy out. We can then build a headline for it. You would change that, of course, because you're creating as a course and you want that impact. So it's even referencing there, module 4, it's referencing the stuff in all the modules going through. And I'm wondering if it's going to also reference the older cat part of it as well.
So adding support for our students, if you have questions, enrolling in our course is the first step towards a cleaner, healthier cat. You'll be amazed at how much easier the process becomes when you have the right knowledge and tools. Again, as a framework for a sales page, that's not awful. You know.
Although it hasn't mentioned here that I can see an older cat. Oh, here we go. Got it here. Because it was in 1.1. So, so notice how the AI is looking at module 1 and then the regenerated copy for module 1 for older cats, but it's including it in module 1. So that is something that you might go, whoa, wow, no, hold on a minute. I want that to be a completely separate paragraph, but it's included it because it's 1.1, 1.2. So that is something that you might want to split out. So again, even more, you know, another sort of proof that you need to go through that and check that it's going to work with your outline of the course.
So within the space of about 5 to 7 minutes, we've gone from an idea of a course to a reasonable outline of a 5-module course with lessons to creating a framework for a sales page, all within 7 minutes from a blank piece of paper. So I think for the people using Zenler that are sitting there, and we hear it week in, week out, that are going, don't really know where to start, don't know how to get going on these things, don't know how to lay out my information, you know, this is quite a good tool to use just to help you, give you that framework to be able to start you out the starting gates to get you going with it. You know, Zenler is very good when you create a course, it will create you the template for a sales page, which of course needs adjusting and adapting. But this framework will help you in building upon what's already there. As David said, you don't copy and paste it because it's not right, but it does help you start to organize your own thoughts. And as the expert, you'll look at that and go, well, that bit's quite good, not thought of that angle before, but also that bit's wrong. And then you'll change and adapt it. And I think this is actually quite useful. And as David's just putting in, 5 impactful headings for the above. So if you're doing social media promotion to get people looking at your course, then that's something that you can look at as well. And of course, then the only thing it won't do is create any imagery for you or anything like that, but you can quite easily off of that generate through Canva or whatever the images you need to go with stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, there you go. It's just not only has it just made 5 impactful headings, which obviously need changing, but you can also generate from that, make excerpts from this post. So, you know, those excerpts maybe could be used in some form for your social media campaigns.
Yeah, I mean, point 4 there I wouldn't use because it's just not specific enough. So on that one that you just did, the last one, so if you scroll down where it says get the right tools and techniques for a safe and effective bath, if you put that on social media, it makes no sense.
Yeah, and in fact, it doesn't mention cats in this excerpt either, all the way down.
No.
So I think that's taking it from point 4, got the right tools for a safe and effective bath. So it has based that this on this exactly. I mean, exactly. So it's not even looking at the above content. It's just because you've used the word above.
Yeah.
If I was to say make, if I was to say, if I was to use that maybe and say make excerpts from this, then it will probably be a bit better. Cat, it's mentioning cat all the time because it's taking that above article which had that in it. So it does take things like literally sometimes. It is an AI, but it will take it literally. And I think that also, that is something that, you know, you guys should think about as well. So if you are telling it to take it from above points, hopefully you will have edited those anyway, so then it have a bit more information. And I think Kevin mentioned it earlier about the fact that, you know, you need to give it that information, you need to get that help. That's why Kevin put all that information in there when I was typing it out, like, you know, the top one, which was the outline. And he used the word bathe my psychotic cat. He didn't leave it to the system. He actually said like 500 words sales page on how to bathe a psychotic cat. You could just put in there, use the above to create words to sales page, and you could leave it like that. But because you've put that in there, then the system's going to look at it that actually that's a really important part, and it will make sure that it's in there in more places. So I think it's also, you've got to be helpful to the AI for it to generate good copy. And that's why Kevin, you know, use longer sentences with this stuff. But you can have a little bit of fun with this, but we think that this is the best way to kind of use that tool.
And then of course you thank the AI for its work. So you go back in at the end of the work and you go, thanks very much for helping me. And then see what it says.
Yeah. Let's use Chat GPT and see what it comes up with. It's an open statement, so I'll just try this anyway. There might be a response that they put out all the time if people help, but you're welcome. It was my pleasure to assist you. Feel free to reach out if you have any other questions or concerns in the future. So that looks like to me that's just a response. So anytime someone says thank you to ChatGPT or the system in general, then it will just fire out this response. But it's quite cool. It's nice that they've added that little touch to it. It's got an answer for everything, Kevin. We've got to try and baffle it.
But you can see how it can be useful, but it's not a done for you situation. You have to have input, you have to check everything, you have to make sure what it's telling you is making sense, and not just take its word for it. That, you know, even if we're creating captions, the captions make sense, because on that one where it said how to have an effective bath or whatever, you know, that means nothing to people when they're looking at that as a caption. It's not specific enough. You know, you need it to all tie into what it is you're trying to achieve. So as a way of getting you from that blank piece of paper to something, it can be really, really useful. But if you think you're going to put a title in, it's going to generate you a really decent course and you're done, and all you've got to do is flesh it out a bit. It's not the case. You've got to really understand it. But what it will do is it may come up with some ideas for you that you've overlooked, because anything that we teach has a process. It's taking them from point A to point B, and we teach them the steps to get through that. That's what a course is in effect. And often when we train what we know, there are elements that we forget, which is why when I teach the launch your first course, we do it in reverse, because when you reverse, you have to think more about what it is that you teach as a process. But here it will do it for us, and it might come up with some things that you take for granted or forgot a part of the process because you just do it so naturally. Yet a brand new person to what it is you're teaching, if they miss that bit, can make the difference between them feeling frustration because something's missing or succeeding in your course.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So on that note, thank you so much, Kevin, for coming on. Really good, because it is something that we wanted to do together, because we have been chatting about it quite a lot. And Kevin's wife Sarah also has had quite a bit of input into this as well on these things. So it was a really important theme, because we just wanted to clarify with you. You probably see lots of things on Chat GPT, and it can, but you need to be aware of these things, that it could potentially cause problems. It's great, as we've shown, it's really good at a tool. And we love technology here. We embrace technology, we love it, but we always want to make sure that you're doing it in the right way. That's going to long-term help your business, not a short-term fix, and then get penalized and drop off later. We want you to be making money for a very long time. So be careful how you use it. As Kevin has mentioned all those points, if you've got to watch this video again, rewind to the end, watch it again, because it's worth paying attention to all of the points that Kevin was bringing up there. So another Zen pop-up from us. Thank you, Kevin, so much. You're probably going to see Kevin do a few more of these as well. He's going to come on and do some bits. I'm trying to twist his arm to get him to come on.
You may well do. There are some Zen pop-ups in the making. So yeah, for sure, there'll be a few more.
Fantastic. All right.
Awesome.
See you later,
Thanks,
guys.
David. Thanks, everyone.
See you later. Bye.